Looks great on the phone.
Yeah, it does actually. That was the first take that we did in 8 hours. It took 8 hours to shoot and to edit. That's like mostly unheard of. People don't do that.
Right. Well, not only that, but we also shot intro. We did a couple other things just to not just do the spot, but the other stuff that kind of goes around doing a spot too. So I was pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, I mean,
how quickly we worked.
Shooting a tutorial and doing this at the same time.
Right.
It was a lot of work. I got to be honest. I was pretty tired last night.
Yeah. I think if you just shot it and you didn't do the other stuff, then it wasn't as much of a challenge as actually like, hey, we want some behind the scenes stuff. So we were setting up extra cameras for stuff, and it was very tiring.
And if shooting a video, educating people on this type of thing wasn't enough, or it wasn't enough of a challenge, we decided to say, hey, we got to put a time limit on this.
Right.
And we can't even do compositing and edit. And I think that came out pretty good.
I was pleasantly surprised how good it looked without having to do a lot of extras, because we're almost trained. If you watch anything on YouTube now, and it's like, well, fix it in post. I mean, that's the saying that I want to just ban from everybody. It's like, if you can shoot it good in camera, you know, and they learned on some big budget movies and stuff now where they're doing like, you know, LED backgrounds and stuff, where it's like, if you can shoot it in camera, you're actually seeing the final product. And I think that was kind of fun, you know, to see what it was going to look like while we were filming it. It created some really big challenges. We ran into a few technical difficulties, but I was really excited when I was able to walk in there and watch it for the first time. I mean, I had to kind of sit in suspense because you were doing the editing. You know, I went and did some other part of my job.
Well, what was the biggest challenge that we experienced?
I think the time limit was probably the biggest challenge, and the smoke from the fog machine, it was kind of frustrating. It was like, how do we clear the air out faster? Because we were like, well, let's shoot it again, but it still looked foggy around the product. And we were like, we got to let it clear all the way out. So I think it was probably 20 minutes to a half an hour delay before we could do something else. So we were actually kind of just brainstorming on the fly. Like, what do we do? We're just standing here doing nothing. Could we prep the next shot? So I think that was probably the hardest challenge. And thinking creatively fast is another challenge. I mean, if you can plan everything out and then film it, and you don't have any like thought during that process, then you're just executing a plan. We had a tentative plan, but we had to do some discovery during the day. I knew you said that you were physically exhausted. I think there was also an emotional exhaustion, because when you're thinking on your feet and you're trying to be creative, it tires you out emotionally too. So I think I was kind of emotionally drained at the end of the day.
That stress aspect of it definitely made it more difficult, but also forced me to push out my creative juices more. Mm-hmm. And I feel like we both came up with some ideas that we probably wouldn't have come up with on a time budget as tight as 8 hours.
Right. I think that's the other thing, is I think we would have wasted more time trying to do a better shot when we had to just call it. We had to say, that's good, let's go. You know, I think the first shot, we spent the most time, I think, on the first 2 shots, which was our first shot and our last shot. I would still do it that way because we were fresher at that time. I think we said it was like an hour and a half on the first one, you know, and we had to really book it. So I think that was where, you know, opening it up and seeing the light come underneath, we spent the right amount of time to get that shot. And then the smoke shots from the fog. We tried it with the dry ice. It didn't work as well. The dry ice worked from the side perspective, but then the blow side was really cool too.
Well, we actually, on both the shots that we used with the fog/smoke, all of that was the dry ice. We didn't even use any of the fog machine, let alone last Friday we spent almost an entire day trying to figure out how to get the smoke to billow around the can and engulf it.
Right.
We didn't even use any of that in the end. We didn't use the
fog machine. You're right. Yeah, because you edited it in post, so I didn't see what shots you actually chose until I saw the final shot. So you're right. That was just the dry ice pouring, you know, and I think it had more weight to it. So that fog,
because it was cold. The cold fog let it sink a bit better.
Yeah. So I loved it.
We did that all in 8 hours, but we wanted to go a little bit further and see what we can do with a little bit more time on the editing process. So here's what it looks like when we added just an extra hour into the editing touches. we just touched it up a little bit with some more color grade, some sound effects, and we also cut a bit of stuff out.
Some small movements made a big difference.
Yeah.
I love it.
It's so cool. Just that little bit of movement at the end with the second last shot, I just moved it over a little bit and into the next shot, moved the shot in the same direction and moved the logo in. That just added so much realism to the shot and just helped transition to the final shot as well. It was really cool.
Yeah, the other thing that I think when we watched it together, we felt like the energy wasn't there as much. So we were just more dramatic in some of the way, you know, you moved some of the shots. And I mean, we said that was okay. You can edit with keyframes and move stuff a little bit. But even just, I think the two things that really helped, we trimmed the front just a little bit to get into the spot a little bit more where the music comes in. The pouring shot and doing that second cut to go tighter helped, and then just made more dramatic moves. I think that's 4 things. So I think you nailed it. That last part, just that small little push, like the fog is pushing the can over and then being able to reveal that logo. Because we did want to put the logo in there, so we couldn't shoot that in camera. We could have held like a little sign or something, but we couldn't use wire removal or anything. But I think that's okay. That's a check to say, yeah, you have to put the graphic on there. So,
but I think what took our project from good to great was 2 things. One was pacing, because that is a big thing, especially in a commercial like that. You want to use the best of the best, and even some of the best shots don't make your final cut. And we had to cut one of my favorite shots, which is the can just sitting there in the ice with the cold kind of going over the can. I thought that was a beautiful shot, but we had to cut that. And second of all was the motion. And this is just basic position, scale, and rotation properties. We didn't use any compositing whatsoever. No overlays, no keyframe masking or rotoscoping, and just no visual effects in general. So the keyframing, position, and rotations, you can do a lot with just that. A lot of people, I guess, use masking and compositing as a crutch sometimes. And this is just to show that you can do a lot of stuff in camera and just use some of the basic editing techniques once you know those principles to push your edit further than what you think it can go.
One of the things that we were doing while we were shooting is we also thought, we were going to use position and scale. So we kind of went a little bit wide on a few of the shots. We shot in 4K. We knew that we were going to produce, a 1080p spot. So we knew that we had a little bit of extra movement, in the shot. So we did shoot a little bit wide. Like even that last shot, we had a little bit of extra room because we knew we wanted to stick the logo. We didn't know if we wanted to go left or right on it or how we were going to do that, because we hadn't gotten that far. We were still shooting. But I think backing up a little bit helped, I think, make sure that we could nail some of that stuff.
So yeah, the mirrors were a great idea. And that was so subtle, just to reflect what was on the TV behind the product, to reflect it back on the front, just to make it feel like it was in the scene and it just felt like it was there surrounded by that environment.
Yeah, I think originally when we said, hey, we have mirrors here, I thought we would use it to like reflect light, just like bounce a light off of it because of the space. You can hit a light and bounce it or, add some texture or extra light to the back. But when we were shooting in front of the TV, we looked at it and we were like, well, we're not seeing anything on the front of the can.
There was no interaction.
We tried to do light first and we were like, it just looks dead. You got some cool animation in the back. And then we physically put the mirrors right up against it. And then you got that reflected light from the background being pulled over to the front. The last half of the spot is all that shot. We shot it 3 or 4 times. We hung it from a string, but that reflected light just brought the cool texture to the front and wrapped the light around. I think that made it feel like the spot. So the only stock thing that we did use in it was the sound effects and music, and the background that was on the TV. The background was from Storyblocks, and then you found the other stuff.
Yeah, on Envato Elements, which was the music and also so much sound effects. And for one monthly subscription, you can download as much stuff as you want. There's really no limit to it. But we put that on the TV because we weren't really allowed to composite anything. And that's where you actually had that idea, which was pretty creative. But we had to do pre-planning to figure out what we wanted to show on the TV. And that was breaking up our flow when we were in the studio. Go to the computer, find the thing, put it on the TV.
And we actually looked for that, trying to utilize our time while it was being aired out from all of the smoke. So we were like, okay, well, let's go find what we're going to stick on the TV. So that we actually did that day too. So we did everything in one day, which was awesome.
These are just so much fun.
I know. I like the deep voice one.
Yeah. What was that one commercial? Oh, yeah. Boom, boom. That was really good. Bow, bow.
That was great.
Oh my gosh. All of these bloopers in this video.
I think the mirrors.
That was actually a genius idea, and I can't believe I didn't think about it because I'm a genius.
Wow. I'm going to cut that out of the audio. I know you do all the post-production stuff, but I'm physically going to walk in and make sure that does not make the cut.
Subscribe for a funny voice. Yes.
Okay. Thanks, Mom. Scale it to the next level. Make it gooder. In this video, we're going to shoot... We've got some RGB lights, so my favorite one. Let's get started. That's actually hilarious. So today, these videos take a lot of work and time to make, so subscribing and leaving a like would mean a lot and just show some support to the channel. We'll see you in the next video. Thanks so much for watching.